On the sixth day of Christmas,
namely 90s gave to me 6 sliders sliding, 5 fruit cakes, 4 time loops, 3 young kids, 2 prophetic dreams, and a refrigerator day bonus.
It's too early to sing.
Yeah.
Welcome to Namely 90s. Wow. The podcast that takes you back to the time before smartphones, Google, and Y2K. Join your hosts as they relive the pop culture that shaped a generation and the parts that many people wish they could forget. Listen in to the conversation about how the decade defined those who spent their childhood there and how it shaped them as adults. So, turn down the grunge and dial up the internet. Let's get started. It's time for Namely 90s.
That's right. You're listening to Namely 90s. My name's Andrew. Over there is Brandon.
That's me.
You can find us online at namely90s.com or on Twitter and Instagram at namely90s with a 90s. You can also watch the show on YouTube at namely90s.com/YouTube. And finally, if you'd like to support the show, head on over to patreon.com/namely90s, also with a 90s to get signed up. Well, Merry the Day After Christmas.
Yes.
There were a name for that.
Merry Boxing Day, I believe.
There it is.
The good old bank holiday from not our country.
Yeah. Is it not?
We don't have Boxing Day. We don't have a bank holiday.
Well, I don't think you need a bank holiday when it's a Sunday.
Yes, but in general, we don't often celebrate the day after.
We just go around punching people in the face on Boxing Day.
Well, it actually started in Australia because the kangaroos, they'd get very ornery after Christmas for some reason.
But anyway, welcome to the 6th episode of our 12 Days of Christmas special. And to introduce our guest, here's Brandon.
Hi, I'm Brandon. That's me. Today, on Boxing Day, we have one half of the Insanely Dangerous Retro Podshow, Gaz. Hello, Gaz.
Hello there.
Welcome.
Sorry, Dave, Dangerous Dave, was unable to make it due to a freak accident involving a car exploding
something
the
about
internet for all
a meteorite hit some sort of an internet box or something.
And there was like a small child that flew down under the guise of the meteor shower.
It was nothing to do with Dange. Before anyone thinks that Dange is like riding a comet or into an internet street cabinet. Watch me doodle. He was at home minding his own business. But yes, the whole of the internet for the area that he lives in has gone down. So there's a distinct lack of Christmas cheer on the Isle of Wight, which is if you can imagine the non-sunny Miami of the south coast of England, that's the Isle of Wight. And that's what Dange is currently putting up with. So you're left with me. You're left with the overly chatty, excitable one, rather than Mr. Facts.
So he lives with a bunch of retirees and people who don't know how to vote. Is that what you're saying?
You know what? I was thinking the other day, you know what? That'd be a lovely place to live when I get a little bit older. I was thinking, look at that. Lovely houses, lovely great big beaches. Yes. And then I was thinking, no, you still haven't retired.
Yeah.
Put that decision. But yeah, Danger's there already. He's got ahead of the curve.
It's good to get in there early, especially given our generation probably won't be able to retire until we're in our 80s or something.
Well, that's it.
But yeah, welcome live. At least we have half of you live for last year. We had to do a pre-recorded version. You may remember, audience listeners, that we watched Bottom on suggestion from Gaz and Dange.
Instant classic.
Oh yes. Was it a plum pudding on fire? Figgy pudding on fire. something on
It's
fire.
it's a Christmas pudding, so it's just lots
Christmas
of
pudding.
fruits.
Gotcha.
So it will squeeze together.
Best
in a
fire
pot
effect
for however long.
ever.
Was it not on fire? And let's see. This year we brought Wow.
Gange.
I just tried to combine you two because Gaz likes to call us Brandrew when they do their segment. Yes, if Gaz sounds familiar, they do a monthly segment on our show since probably the middle of summer, or maybe it was earlier this year. Have we done it for the full year? I don't remember now. But you have a segment on your show called What Was Happening Way Back When?
Yes, what happened way back when, which is I can appreciate is a bit of a mouthful, but it just seems to roll off of my tongue if nobody else's.
I take it you're the one that names everything on the show with the five different adjectives for everything.
It's the way I talk. Yeah, it's we could do things like everybody else, and we'd probably get a lot of a bigger audience. And I have to do all the editing as well. So I think I kind of just throw all my toys out the pram and it's like, I want things my way. And Dangerous just like, well, whatever, man. It's okay. Yeah, perfect. You do whatever you want. I'm just here for the action. Yeah, or like Mr. Cool doesn't lose his patience. So yeah, I get to do pretty much whatever I want. Hence the reason of what happened way back when.
That's awesome. And then we've in the last 6 months-ish have been doing a segment for your show called Quality 90s, which is where we take what's coming up on our. So you guys release on Thursday or Friday?
Yeah,
Friday.
Thursdays, yeah.
Thursdays. And then we kind of tease what's happening on our Monday show by giving you guys a movie quote and having you guess it. You're fairly thoroughly beaten us at the game. But we get every once in a while we get a little trick one in.
Yeah.
With zero context except for us trying to give it away with our bad imitations of whoever says it. But yeah, so sorry, tell us a little bit more about the Insanely Dangerous Retro Podshow, if you will.
Right. Okay, I'll try and keep this under 10 minutes, but if for anyone that listens to the show, how much I talk and Dane just can't get a word in edgeways. Right, we are an 80s and 90s retro podcast. You're not just concentrating on films and TV, but all of the crazy things that everyone tends to forget about. So like we've done one about clothes, discontinued snacks. The clothes was one of our early ones, where we gave birth to the long-running joke of Batman jeans. So if anyone's ever heard an episode and Dane just turns around and starts cracking up and saying Batman jeans, I had a bit of a meltdown on this episode about how my mum bought me some incredibly budget Batman jeans because that's all she could afford. So it's all these list of things from your childhood that you forget about, and we try and dredge them all up and live the pain all over again, like eating vanilla ice cream flavored Monster Munch, and that episode's actually done incredibly well. We're coming up to 1,000 downloads on that episode. Wow. We're really happy with that. But yeah, it's a lot of the stuff that you don't consider classic that's been forgotten about. We like to dredge it all up and talk about it all over again, because that's what Danger and I have been doing before we made a podcast, and we thought that we better well just do something constructive with all this waffling. So here we are. It's just two regular guys, and then whatever pours out of my mind, games and quizzes and doodahs and whatchamacallits. We like to get people involved. So if you're a podcaster yourself, you've got an idea for the show, send us an email. You can find us on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, which Dangerous manages wonderfully because I just can't bring myself to do it. I'm a grumpy old man. Yes, but it's an absolutely fantastic show. I think we've even had a celebrity interview at one point with Joey Kramer,
Last Starfighter. Oh yeah, okay.
Flight of the Navigator.
Oh yeah, sorry. Those movies always blend in my head.
For a second, I almost agreed with you. That's it. Well done. Bang on the head. No, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. We get to speak to a lot of people, and we're working on getting them on the show. So if like I say, when I say see you later to you guys after you do the wonderful work that you do on Quotely 90s, I say if you like your retro with a bit more 90s flavor, you listen to you guys. If you like your retro with a little bit more of an 80s flavor, then come listen to us. So yeah, there you go.
Man,
very good.
Yeah, it's always a great time tuning into you guys, because it's not just focusing on nostalgia. It's a whole Galram variety show almost, because you have all your different segments. You have you kind of quiz Gange at the end of the episode. We're losing you intermittently here, guys.
Yeah, no, you turned into Starscream, but now you're back.
There we are. Yeah, you pack so much into your show each week. It's like you do a month's worth of Namely 90s in a single week. We're continually impressed by it.
Thank you very much. It's it's a drain on my long suffering co-host. He has to put up with a lot of effing and blinding and moaning and crying from me. But I refuse to let any of it go or hand over any editing control, and he doesn't want any parts of it. So it's a lot of effort, but it is a labor of love. So thank you very much. Thank you everyone for tuning in.
Yeah. So we had you on last year. You gave us kind of your English, British, UK perspective on how Christmas happens versus how we experience Christmas as kids, if I remember correctly. I think one of you talked about watching, was it Star Wars on Christmas Day?
Yeah, that would be me.
Yeah. So we may have wrung the well dry on Christmas 90s holiday memories.
Well, no, not really, because we had Bottom was Dangerous's idea. He absolutely loved it. And I've got a lot of other very different memories. It wouldn't just be Star Wars, be any kind of blockbuster that had already been out on TV, and same as any other holiday in the UK. They would always put before streaming. On a holiday you'd always get some sort of gigantic blockbuster on TV, to keep everyone indoors and away from the nice weather outside. Come indoors, watch us. Christmas is no different. We a lot of it was doing the rounds. You wouldn't just go to one place for Christmas Day. I remember us being in the car, permanently doing a tour of Southampton, popping in for half an hour. Hello, Merry Christmas, and me just getting squashed permanently by adults that are bigger than me. Yeah, and it's great because everyone gives you a little something. And it's like, this is fantastic. Obviously, as a kid, you've got your priorities in exactly one place, and that is the amount of gifts that you can receive. But if you're at home, if it's one of those years and you're with family, a lot of it is, for me, it was a lot of board games and an insane amount of foods that my mum would prepare, and it's ugly tinsel as far as the eye could see. It would look like Christmas had thrown up in our front room. I'm trying to think what they call. Popsicle sticks. Made into stars, glued together, hung all over the place, and mismatching baubles and bowls of chocolate, and it's insane. In our house, I like to think that it was a big deal, and it wasn't just TV. It was about experiencing the corniest, the sweetest but the corniest food-filled present sensation. we possibly could. And so, a lot of nice memories of Christmas time, and just completely different to Dange. So I'd say maybe now the well has been completely dried out.
Well, hopefully we'll have Dange on live next year to do the same. But that sounds like a great view of like childhood Christmas, and that's just like gifts and food and being forced to travel about and see people. But where was I going with that one? It's thank you for sharing.
And then now as an adult, you are responsible for making all those things happen, and it's a nightmare.
My mum actually moved away for 10 years to Australia and then various other places. So I didn't get to see. She did come back once. But then I think that was the beginning of the end, and bad weather abroad, and so she ended up coming back. And so when she and now she's been back, I think it's like 5 years, and I think I've had one Christmas at home, and my mum is obsessed with inviting us round and putting on the most elaborate of Christmas feasts with all sorts. We go around Christmas Eve, and it's tiny little gifts there with Christmas cocktails and Christmas Eve presents, like just like little knickknacks, and that she's put an incredible amount of thought into just for over 2 days.
Does she still do the popsicle snowflakes?
No, that's my job. I can see it. There's a bag in my front room. There's a bag with a hot glue gun and some sticks. That's my job this year. I tell you what, I'll put one up on the Twitter feed as well. She's still doing it. So apart from 1 year where I cooked a dinner for, I think it was like 10 people, I've had absolutely nothing to do the last 5 years. So in my daughter's eyes, Grandma Debs has legendary status as a top chef and some ingenious mad woman when it comes to Christmas, and I'm just second rate. I'm second rate, Grandma Debs. So next year, she's going to see a thing or two. I've got she set the bar quite high, and it's up to me to like I said, to be the adult. The mature adult that's in charge of reaching those standards. So it's okay.
Well, good luck to you next year with that.
Thanks.
So we talked about Christmas memories. How about what we brought you on to talk about? Sliders. Today we watched season 3, episode 12, Season's Greetings, but
Greedings.
Yes, a pun for Andrew to enjoy. But before we talk about the episode, we always like to ask what's everyone's memories of the TV show Sliders.
Jerry O'Connell reprograms a TV remote to travel to different universes, something like that.
That's the fat kid from Stand By Me.
Also, doesn't it seem improbable that he would be smart enough to do that?
Jerry O'Connell.
I mean, no offense, but
I mean, the man has he's the voice of a new commander on Star Trek Lower Decks. Don't remember his name. That's the new Star Trek animated series that's actually somewhat watchable. And he's married to Rebecca Romaine.
Oh.
Sans Stamos, who is also on a new Star Trek thing. But then again, Kangaroo Jack existed, so no, I don't think. I don't think that was. I think that balances out.
How about you, Gaz? Did you watch this originally or ever?
No, you know what? It had I'd say cult status. Actually, I'd say it was on BBC Two, which is where the Beeb puts almost everything that it's not 100% sure about. So, we've got this brand new series from, I don't know, whether it's some kooky young people or whether it's from abroad. let's put it on BBC Two. Let's see how it goes. And like some of it was like The Simpsons, which is obviously ridiculously popular. I think that's an understatement. It had things like edgy comedies and sci-fi and US dramas and cartoons, etc., etc. So as kids, I remember a lot of us, not even just in my friend group, a lot of us at school talking about it. Of course, we were all very aware of Jerry O'Connell. Obviously, like Brandon said, is the fat kid from Stand By Me. Obviously, John Rhys Davies through Indiana Jones as Salah. And that was a massive surprise. For some reason, the Welsh name didn't give me a hint that he might have been putting on an accent, and he wasn't actually Egyptian. But no, right. There you go. That's a kid's boy. But it had a modern feel to it at the time. Almost like but effects that have aged badly now. But at the time, they felt great in the same way that say like Buffy had. They look, wow, look at these glossy graphics, and then fast forward 10 years, ooh.
Yeah.
But my dad turned his nose up at it, and therefore it became essential viewing. I think that's the
nice.
That's the biggest thing. That's why I ended up watching it.
I mean, I gotta say, it's definitely in my sci-fi blind spot, and I apparently only watch the like mainstream franchises like Star Wars and Star Trek and stuff like that, and Stargate.
It was on Fox.
Anything
that's
with
mainstream-ish.
Well, I'm just saying, like I've watched the X-Files, I've watched Buffy. But Sliders, like I've watched episodes here and there, but it's not like I've not gone back and rewatched the series since it's aired or like had its syndication run.
But now with Peacock, you can. Not sponsored by Peacock.
So the guy that plays Salah, who was a dwarf in Lord of the Rings, I believe.
Yes, Grimly,
yeah. Which is another area of sci-fi fantasy that I've not like really gotten into, but I have seen the movies at least once. But yeah, Andrew, you're the one that picked Sliders for this year, right?
Yeah, I mean, we watched it. I recall, I think my brother was really into it, but I think we watched it while it was on Fox, and I mean, I remember it well. It's another one of those shows I felt like was on forever, but it was only 5 seasons.
That's a long time.
But no, I don't remember it distinctly, but I know if I would go through and watch it, I would start remembering some of these episodes. This one I do not remember, though.
Okay. For our listeners at home, Sliders is an American science fiction and fantasy television series that was broadcast for 5 seasons, as Andrew just said. It follows a group of travelers as they wormhole to slide between different parallel universes. It was on Fox for 2 seasons, and then it was canceled and moved to the Sci-Fi Channel. 3 seasons, and then moved to the Sci-Fi Channel in the US for the last 2. It looks like
something like the timer would tell them how long they had in that world, and if they didn't make it back in time, then they were stuck there for 30 years or some such nonsense.
Yes, and the something about exactly that.
It was a remote control, just for the record.
Yes, that he built in his garage as he was going to some sort of like Caltech. I would
like to point out that the components needed to develop a wormhole device probably aren't available to just build in your home.
Well, let me tell you, I accidentally, because Peacock sucks, the streaming service that has it right now in the US, I was watching the first episode, the pilot, for longer than I care to admit, before realizing this wasn't the episode I was supposed to be watching. And yeah, it looks like he had a nuclear testing facility in his basement and at his parents' house.
Let's just say the guy at Radio Shack recognizes him.
at the bare minimum. At most, he's most likely stolen millions of dollars worth of technology from whatever college that he was going to. But yeah, so Andrew doesn't remember this episode. This morning I vaguely feel like I've seen at least parts of the episode before. Gaz, do you remember Season's Greetings?
I watched a lot of the episodes as well. I think I watched it before it moved over to the Sci-Fi Channel, and then I think I was, due to a scheduling conflict, I wasn't able to watch it when it came back to BBC, and I never really watched it religiously like I did beforehand. But I don't remember this. This seems totally unlike the rest of the series. It felt as though it was the night before Christmas where Jesus was born. The producers defined a message to shoehorn.
Yeah, exactly. All these 90s shows, like these episodes they're like, this doesn't make any sense. And it's just because they have to do a Christmas episode.
Right.
They have to.
That's fair. The episode starts with them sliding into a new reality. And then they make a bunch of pygmy jokes. Well,
the thing is, I get that, like, they established the sliding thing in the first episode or whatever, but it is a little bit shocking when you just, like, if you just turn this on in the middle of season 3 and they just, like, pop out of this, like, weird portal, you'd be like, what? Maybe they should do one of the pre-intro intros. They're like, in every generation, there is a slider or whatever,
That's a good point. They don't give you the informational background until they hit the credits. Yeah.
And even those aren't that explanatory. They're like fairly vague.
I'm Jerry O'Connell and I slide through different universes.
That would have worked better.
Yeah. I liked the immediately they're like, oh, look, a church. I'd like to say a prayer for safe passage.
Was weird. I'll be right back. Just give me 1 minute.
Yeah. But it's like you're sliding between many alternate realities, and you still believe in God.
That's a good point.
Which I was questioning it. Or is the God of a different parallel universe the same God as your OG God? A lot of things. Wow. A lot of late night questions I had there.
Yeah.
While they're making their 1 minute pit stop for Wade to make her
prayer.
Yeah, to light a votive candle. A random woman gives Maximilian a baby to hold for 1 minute, and then runs off and gets on an employee shuttle to the Mega Mall.
Yeah, the thing is, when she was running away from the baby and he was holding it, she was getting on the bus. So I was like, if that's the baby Jesus, I swear to God, I was like, because all these shows try to like allude to the baby Jesus repeatedly. They didn't in this case.
Unfortunately, no. That would have been epic. It's the the capitalist Jesus. I think so. And Andrew texted me before I watched this episode, and he's like, "There's a lot of low tilted angles in this shot or this episode," which made me notice them every single time they came up.
Well, there was one later where Jerry O'Connell was just having like a one-on-one conversation with the other redhead, I think, in the mall, and it was just back and forth with this like low angle, which is usually meant to indicate like kind of something's a little off, something's a little weird, but it was just like a regular conversation, and it was really distracting.
No, I think whoever directed this episode just thought, you know what? I just love low Dutch angles. Can
you just rotate that camera about 15 degrees? Thanks. That'd be great.
It's I postulated later on, like maybe it's hard to fit multiple actors into frame on a letterbox show. Like because they were the 4:3 aspect ratio back then.
Yeah,
Like maybe it's hard,
like a one-on-one conversation, looking at him, looking at her, like it just didn't work.
and also like Star Trek did it, so I don't I could be wrong. Let's see. There were more low Dutch angles. I was like, okay, so this show's basically Quantum Leap mixed with Stargate. I got it. So they follow the lady to her place of employment. Not creepy at all. After pawning the baby off on the priest in the random chapel in the woods.
It was like an outdoor chapel too, which was sort of strange.
Yeah, it's so at this season they were shooting in LA.
Season 3? I thought that was still.
It's that season 1 and 2 were shot in.
That makes
DC.
sense then.
That's why I got it mixed up.
Los Angeles.
Yeah. So yeah, they get to what appears to be a giant mall in the sky being held up by clouds. You hear an announcement. I liked the announcement that's like, if you think you finished shopping for Christmas, you could always start on next year's.
I feel like the funny thing is that's when malls were in their heyday, and now malls are just basically a bunch of shut down spaces and like an Orange Julius in the corner.
Do you have shopping malls like that in the UK, I guess?
We don't have the service announcements. I think they've at one point we had the first one that's somewhat recently been knocked down. The first one that was in Southampton has recently been knocked down. It was replaced by one that was about 10 times as big. Oh, wow. And you think that they're going to copy what is from what we can tell from US television is like a stereotypical layout of an American mall, but actually they've tried to go in a completely different direction. And what they try and do is try to make out as though it's very classy. It's like, oh no, if you come here, you won't be bombarded with messages of consumerism. This is a classy establishment. When it's not really, because then in huge red letters, sale, sale, sale everywhere around the whole building. So yeah, I mean, I did choke a couple of times listening to some of the messages in this episode. It did feel eerily prophetic at time, if maybe not about any businesses that I've worked for, then certainly some companies. I've had some office jobs in the past where their best friend is Mr. Max Profits, and as long as the arrows are all pointing up, that's okay. We can do anything we want. Carte blanche to do whatever you like, as long as they make the money. And it did feel a little bit like that. It was a bit scary. I don't know what year did this come out? This episode.
This would have been 97-ish.
Oh wow! So an absolute. It feels like a lifetime to me. A lifetime ago, and for it to have its finger on the pulse, as much as they shoehorned and ham-fisted this was, I feel like they had their finger on the pulse in that respect.
Yeah, the shopping mall stuff wasn't that far off. It was just the sad thing. It was actually pretty accurate.
I mean, the only thing they really missed is I know that they don't travel through time when they slide, but our shopping malls now are kind of dead on the inside here in America.
It's like 1 in 4 malls is going to close in the next 3 to 5 years, according to some sort of Business Insider article I was just reading. They really are not doing well.
Yeah,
that's
unless
crazy.
they're in like a major city in the heart of it. So where there's actually enough foot traffic to make it look like it did in those episodes, or in the episode. Yeah, but let's see. They kind of set up the A and the B plot for this episode. The mall requires you to only have credit, which they provide.
When they said they only took cash, I was like, or didn't take cash, I was outraged for a minute. I was like, wait, I never carry cash, and there are places right now that don't accept cash.
Right. I was like, oh, how weirdly clairvoyant that they saw that we don't have cats anymore. And also I noticed that when the girl that's like serving them is like, oh, I could get you guys a job, but you can't eat this because you can't pay. Jerry O'Connell still snags a fry. And I'm like, oh, he's still the fat kid from
and she's just gonna go throw it in the garbage.
That's true. I mean, that is true. Well, I don't know how money savvy they are there. They might just recycle that food for someone else. So that's the A plot, is them getting jobs and then uncovering this whole greedy capitalist thing, plus finding the baby mama. And then the B plot starts when Wade recognizes her sister and father, who don't recognize her, and then she gets super mopey the rest of the episode and starts losing faith that they'll ever make it home one day.
Weren't there like C and D plots? Like I feel like the C plot was the baby.
But that still ties into the
true
like, capital.
And then the D plot was the black guy like becoming affected by the commercials, which I feel like that was a common theme in this show. Is like at least one of them would become affected by whatever the problem was in that particular universe. You know,
to be fair, that sounds completely accurate because I also accidentally watched the first 5 minutes of the next episode, or at least the teaser, and the Maximilian is outraged because he falls in trash yet again, and he's going out to buy a suit or new clothes in this new world. By the way, where do they get their clothes and money? Do they rob a bank, leaving one universe and going to the next one? But he's like angry at everyone else, and he storms off into this world that everyone's wearing like a suit and talking on a cell phone, and it's like some guy spills coffee on him, and then he starts having a public breakdown, and then some lady comes over and is like, you're not wearing your uniform, and he's like, I haven't worn a uniform in 30 years, and then she puts an injection in his neck and drags him off.
My question is, did anyone get how or why or what Jerry O'Connell was promoted to?
I think he was promoted to a manager.
Is that and that's because the lady was attracted to him, basically, is what it was my understanding.
That was what I think they implied, but I'm not sure.
Wow. Really?
Well, I mean, she's like, oh, I've got something for you. It's and
come
also
to my office later, big
how
boy.
Does Jerry O'Connell make every suit look cheap? I
thought that was just the 90s. But yeah, it was
bad posture. I don't know. It's
it's also the face he was making whilst he was talking to Wade's sister. Yeah, I know that he was trying to say, look at my smoldering looks, but what his face was saying to me was, I had too much broccoli at lunch.
It did look like he was
affected the suit, the aura as well.
He was letting out a tiny fart every time he was talking to her. Let's see. So they get jobs as Santa and elves for the Christmas mall Santa thing. Did this translate across the pond? Do you have mall Santas where you take your kid to Santa and they tell them what they want, and then I don't know, break into your house later and give you your presents they do in a future episode?
There's a saying, I can never quite remember it, but it's something that older generations say. If it snows in the US, it sleets over in the UK, and that's just totally it. The UK don't really understand the concept of go big or go home. Now, that's a good idea, but we don't want to spend as much money on it as they did. So let's see, how can we make this but smaller and cheaper? So in that first mall that I was speaking about, the one that's been knocked down, I actually remember going to it in its opening days. Must have been 4 or 5. I remember going there, and there was this fat guy with a real beard and reindeer.
Reindeer, wow.
Yeah, they went all out. It was beautifully decorated, and I don't remember seeing one quite as good since. I mean, I was seriously impressed. Yeah, the reindeer have got bells on their antlers and everything. It was absolutely stunning. And then everyone that I have seen since then has been a pale comparison. It's just been all downhill since for the last 35 years. So as far as Santas have been concerned, but we have those over here. They're a big deal. We make sure that the kids write their list, and then we put that in the post box, and that goes off somewhere. Yeah. I don't know what the post office do with those, but they go somewhere. I remember taking little one when she was many moons ago to go and see Santa, and it was it's something pretty amazing. It's you don't really get the bratty kids over here saying I want this, I want that. I think they are all pretty much like astounded by this man in this bright red suit and this real beard. It's like, well, hang on a second. Terry at school said that he wasn't real, but I mean, clearly it's him. So kids over here, they absolutely love it.
It's that is a good point. The authenticity of the Santa is kind of key in selling Santa to the children.
Right.
Speaking of which, Maximilian becomes the mall Santa, and then on his first kid, he not only stops the line to tell this kid a long ass story.
The longest.
Yeah. He then, after letting the kid go, leaves to talk to his friends.
If I'm waiting in line, I'm pissed.
Yeah. And then the kid eventually comes up to him and is like, I was bad, Santa. Something. I killed my brother. Can I still be on the nice list?
They're like, yes.
And he's like, I'm reaching these kids. And yeah, then he goes off with the small child, still with the long line to see Santa, and tells him another story. Just
at that rate, he would have convinced 2 kids a day to change their behavior.
On top of that, who's A, watching this child, and B, watching this mall Santa? Because there is security cameras on him, as we see later in the episode. Like, why is it taking so long? Like, if I was the manager who fired the previous staff not 2 hours prior, I would be a little upset. Not making my money here. And then we have back to the weird creepy B plot. Wade runs into her father, who it feels like he's hitting on both of his daughters.
It feels like he's hitting on them, doesn't
it? It maybe I'm interpreting it wrong, but he stares longingly into both of his daughters over the course of the episode. He invites her over for dinner because she, upon seeing him, drops her entire meal on the ground, even though it's a salad. So
it seemed excessive.
Yeah. And very rehearsed. Meanwhile, Quinn's trying to get with her sister.
Yeah, definitely.
He says something about Charlie Brown. She says, "Who's Charlie Brown?" Andrew,
yeah, that bothered me because later, so they were like, "Who's Charlie Brown?" But then later they referenced World War II, and I was waiting for someone to go, "What's World War II?" But no, that happened. Charlie Brown didn't. That's the only thing in this universe that didn't happen is Charlie Brown.
Yeah, there's giant sky malls, but somehow everything else happened except for Charlie Brown, and Wade and her mother died childbirth.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Charlie Brown. That has been the one line from this episode that has remained, that stuck in my head and has occasionally come to me. So like when I'm making breakfast, I was like, really? That's the one thing they chose? Whoever wrote this script, that's the one thing they chose.
Like, is Charles Schultz like anti-capitalism and we just don't realize it?
Got him killed.
Millions of Peanuts strips and tie-ins and MetLife commercials here in the U.S. I would beg to differ. I realized at this point Kelly is played by an actress from Star Trek Deep Space Nine who played Lita, one of the waitresses at Quark's bar. And I don't think I've ever not seen her hair do that weird, like, fly high poofy thing.
Yeah.
Apparently it was a 90s thing. Let's see. At this point, Rembrandt, the black guy, he's hooked with the subliminal messages and is buying up a storm.
Yeah, he's getting like 10 gifts for everybody, or 14 or something like that.
Yeah, like there's a bike.
The thing that bugs me is like, so the whole thing is that they get into debt and they have to pay it back, and then they have this little bracelet that prevents them from leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that all sounds much more orchestrated at a higher level than like kind of a middle manager guy. Like, if you can still get promoted, I don't know how you have the pull to like enslave people. You know what I mean? And like, does the legislation really allow this? I feel like it wouldn't.
Right. That and because it's indentured servitude, and
like I feel like that had to be systemic and not just one person, which maybe is part of the
allegory for the episode.
Allegory, yes, thank you.
It's in my notes right there. I was like, yes. Also, I have to question, why does he call Quinn Q Ball?
Thank you.
Like, he's not bald. I get his name starts with a Q, but he's just like, yeah, Q Ball really lays it on thick sometimes, doesn't he?
Just call him Quinn.
Let's see. Meanwhile, the C plot. Max finds the mother eventually and is like just laying it on thick. How he's like, I was a war orphan for 4 months while my father was fighting in India. I was like, wait, what?
Every time he spoke, did it not take 3.5 minutes? I'm like, oh my gosh, stop talking.
And on top of that, it's like, who is he to judge this mother? Like, Jesus Christ.
When I was a young boy in the war, it's like, oh, here we go.
And, like, she was trying to give him a better life away from the mall. So yeah, it was just really. I also looked up the age of Reese. What's his name? The actor who plays Maximilian. He was born in 1944. And if we remember, the war ended in 1945. So
true.
I don't,
not far off. It's
not
okay.
Far
they did
off,
a decent job.
I'm just saying, if he remembers being a war orphan, he should have been
a little older.
Yes. But okay. I guess if you're British and his age, you were a war orphan for some time in any show in the.
That's true.
Anyway, moving on. Someone asks, why would they loan money to people who couldn't pay it back? And my point was 2006 housing crisis in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think didn't it start in 2006 and it all crashed in 2008 and then it all just went to hell from there.
I thought the bubble popped in 2006. Was it 2008? I don't remember. When did I lose money?
2008.
Okay, thank you.
But yes, they were lending money to people who couldn't pay it back, essentially, and then selling that to other investors and such. Very ahead of its time. It did a good job of predicting that.
Right. It's like, to be fair, they could have been looking at the .com crash. No, that didn't happen either.
Yeah.
Anyway, Kelly catches them trying to hack the president's computer. Because they have a whole plan where Santa's telling the kids about a time where the Dutch had cookies and homemade things and non-purchased things in their wooden shoe out by their bed.
And he's like, I can't have that. And he gets up from his desk and like storms off to deal with it.
Yes.
While they slip in.
And,
The thing that, well, never mind. You continue.
No, I don't have anything. But.
Well, when, what's her face? So they try to hack into the computer.
Mhm.
They get the wrong password.
Mhm.
And then it gives them 60 seconds before security is called.
Yes.
And then what's her face?
Comes in and finds them.
Kelly, them. And she's
Kelly.
like, what is going on
The
here?
sister.
And they're like, let us explain. And within 60 seconds, they're able to convince her that they're from a different universe and she's on their side. Like the Lois and Clark one we watched. I mean, Superman tried to explain to Lois like 10 times what was going on. She's like, I don't believe it. And they're married.
Well, she's her sister, just from a different timeline. Yeah. And then
she's like, you're right. I'll help.
While she was explaining it, I'm like, she's like, she knew the exact things that happened to her sister in a timeline where she didn't exist, and therefore, like, butterfly effect to the extreme would not have happened the same way. But
Yes, yeah, very good point.
I just think that it's unlikely all of those things would be almost the same, but yet Charlie Brown doesn't exist.
well, the first one was exactly the same. Like, she burned down the house or something, and or like set fire to a Christmas ornament. I don't remember. That happened like exactly the same. In the second one, she tried to kiss the boy, and the only difference was she got the kiss in Wade's original universe before the boy ran away, because he had some things to figure out about himself. But the thing that actually impressed me was when Jerry O'Connell said, "You got 10 seconds left." It was actually 10 seconds from when he said it to when it counted down on the computer to
he
1
knew
second.
you'd be counting. Someone like you would be there with a stopwatch counting.
But no one else would do that. not until internet criticism came around. That was rare in the 90s. It should have been like 5 minutes later. The 10 seconds elapsed.
This is true. This is pre-24, isn't it? So yeah.
Events did not happen in real time.
I'll tell you what upset me about that scene, though, is the fact that every single show, and especially in the 90s when people started getting PCs, it's like everyone. There's always one group, and that one group has a hacker. Oh, you're a computer expert. Quickly sit down. Oh no, what's wrong? Oh no, and it's like, how how much of a hacker are you that within 3 seconds I was sitting down at this computer? Yeah, and what's the security? A tall, slender redhead.
Yeah.
Wow.
To be fair,
all right.
To be fair, they had all seen Angelina Jolie in the 1994, 5, 6 movie Hackers.
Here's what bothered me about that scene too, though. She sits at the computer and starts typing, and then a password field comes up, and then either it pre-populates a password, or she just types one in and hits enter, and it's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hacking.
Then the only thing that she said that actually had some merit was like, is there a boot disk? And I was like, oh, okay, I could see like if you could kind of like boot around it. And no, it's like, what?
And meanwhile, the crisis with the mall Santa, Max is trying to tell them about the 12, or he's having the kids sing the 12 Days of Christmas. And he's like, what is this song actually about? Too many presents. I was like, is that what the song is about? I literally never understood that song.
Going back to the computer thing.
Yes.
Why is every every computer on TV controlled only by the keyboard? Does anyone notice that? They never click. And then if they do click, they make a point to show them like very deliberately and slowly moving the mouse and like clicking and moving something. Whatever BS proprietary operating system they always use on TV.
I would assume it's because you can hide the hands just smacking every key when typing in a 2-word or 2-digit password.
And everything makes a sound. Like a window pops up and it makes like a little chirp or a little, ding. It's like, no, I always like when I watch a movie and they just have like Mac OS,
Well, I mean, it's nice that like these days people understand the visual language of technology, whereas back then it was like, yeah, I can hack anything with a piece of gum and whatever MacGyver has in his pockets.
And also any movie where they like have a big screen in front of them and can like move like the translucent stuff with their hands. They always do that thing where they're like, moving.
Like the Minority Report.
That's always the stupidest thing. And it's super impractical. Like I can't read it. It's against a transparent background. Why are you using your arms? Like, it just seems very impractical to me.
Don't they have it now in VR?
Yeah, but like, it seems cool and sort of stylistic, but doesn't actually have an advantage as far as efficiency or readability. I don't know.
That's right.
You can make a real mess when you scratch the end of your nose.
That's true.
You make a real mess of your office work. It's, man. I don't want to go there again.
I just want to say, Andrew, any person can use a computer entirely without a mouse, right? Well,
you can.
Person, you should be. I am of the belief that you should be able to navigate your computer without.
Yeah, but I feel like it's a lot of hitting tab.
Oh yeah,
not aggressively typing. Like when she put in the 6-digit password, she typed like 1,000 digits. Like, calm down with your keyboard, there, lady. Jeez. Anyway.
Back to the group of kids that not only didn't want free food, they didn't want free video games.
Yeah, that's the point at which I was like, don't believe it.
Yeah, who the fuck are these kids? And that's our one F-bomb for the
and also like the professor's stories are so boring. These kids would not be captivated. I'm sorry, they're just
especially greedy capitalist kids that they were. And have you noticed that he kept pulling his beard down to talk when he was like anything but Santa?
It was like a mask. Dude, I'll just hold the beard underneath my chin. That'll convince everyone that I'm wearing it.
It's a beard diaper. It's a chin beard. Let's see. So yeah, I still don't understand. Like, how are these 10 children going to spread the anti-capitalist message throughout the world? Like, it's a small group of kids. You've not influenced anything.
I know this. I know the answer to this.
Yes.
Have you seen Pay It Forward?
Yes.
There we go.
Haley Joel Osment.
Exactly. And the lesson of this, if you combine Pay It Forward and Sliders, is that kid that was sat on his knee said, "I've been a really bad boy, Santa. Please don't give me coal." He died after that episode. That's the lesson. That's the lesson that I have learned from those two, from that great film, that episode together. They all went out and they paid it forward, but that kid died in a tragic knife fight.
I didn't expect that turn, but I should have. The manager's all like, "Christmas is about cash flow, baby," and then
I hated that.
Yeah. And then they had all of his misdeeds on a
floppy,
a 3D printed save button. As the kids say these days.
Well, like, I'm sorry, a floppy disk, I don't think it can hold all that information. I just really don't.
Same.
Just a zip disk.
And at the same time, they've deleted all of his debts and they deleted all the debts and the histories. And like, how are you going to be able to prosecute him? Like, all he has to do is take the disc from you and just snap it in half. Yet he just runs. He runs. Like,
oh, this makes me so angry.
That he ran?
Yeah, like he ran and then Jerry O'Connell just punches him in the face once. He's like,
why?
What?
Why? He's not security. He's not police. He just goes, ooh, he gets that angry post broccoli poo face on. And then he charges after him, like throws him to the ground. He's like, punches him. Like, and what did they achieve? What did they achieve, O'Connell? Tell me now. I'm furious. I've just watched this for half an hour, 45 minutes. What were you doing chasing after him? And the rest of the security just stood around going, "Oh, what do I do now? I don't know. Do I go home or do I carry on shopping?" And they're like, never mind while this man just assaults their boss.
Yeah, they're still his security at this point.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then Jerry O'Connell dusts off his cheap suit. He's like, "Look at what you made. Look at what you did."
You did that, O'Connell, when you did that, Connell. See that suit when you put it on, you made it look cheap.
Like, I think he farted when I tackled him. And then so everything resolves. They're having Christmas dinner or Christmas Eve dinner at Kelly's and Kelly's
dad / love interest house.
Yeah. Well, okay. So like they're like they reconcile, and he's like holding her face in both of her hands or both of his hands, and then like goes in for a kiss. And I'm like,
I think there's something creepy about like when people aren't actually related but try to play related. It's you know what I mean?
Yes.
It just doesn't work sometimes.
It doesn't. You gotta make sure they click. And then they have some random singing because Andrew hates that.
I almost texted you. I was like, "Oh my god, they just broke out into song again."
Yeah, and then
I almost cried at that point as well.
as they were about to slide away, Max kisses the mother on the lips as a goodbye. It's like, where the hell does that come from? Like,
I think, do you think he just felt justified? It's like, I've done a wonderful thing, right?
Yeah.
I've defeated consumerism. I've wiped this woman's debts and saved her baby. I deserve a little something.
Not only that, she clearly wanted it by giving me her baby in the beginning of this episode.
Yeah, these are the justifications that creeps would use to justify unwanted advances. Like, did he borderline sexually assault this person? I think he might have.
At no point did she express interest in this man.
No, you can't just kiss people on the lips. Jeez.
No, I think he's a professor of physics. Definitely not a
oh god,
interpersonal relationships, not his area of expertise.
Yeah,
exactly. And that takes us through the episode. They slide away. So let's final thoughts for the episode. Gaz, do you want to start?
Well, oh yeah,
or Andrew? No, Andrew.
No. Just for the very last episode, the very last scene. So earlier they talk like they're going to explain the sliding thing to the dad, but they never actually do it on screen. And then by the end of the episode, he's just cool with it. Like, yeah, they're just jumping into a portal on my front lawn. That's fine.
Well, Wade and Kelly were talking, and Wade says something extent "You'll explain the sliding thing to Dad once we're gone, right?"
But he's standing there on the front lawn, like, okay, bye. Like,
yeah,
he's not like, what the hell?
That's a good point. I didn't expect him to.
See you next time.
Yeah.
Anyway,
final thoughts. Final thoughts.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, what can you say about that episode? Ham-fisted, shoehorned. For some reason, Jerry O'Connell forgets how to act. I think they may have got one of the kids in that episode to also direct it, which I think is the biggest. Yeah, you said about the angles.
It's a low angle.
Yeah, you said Jerry O'Connell is trying to smolder, but he looks like he's got gas. Also, there's the worrying before Watershed's before 9 o'clock incest storyline. It's just the direct. I don't know where they got him or her from, but I suspect it is one of the kids who, there are worse people that, I could do a better job than a lot of people, say like Michael Bay. And that's a good point. It's either this 10-year-old child or Michael Bay. Let's get this 10-year-old child in. And so that's the biggest problem I have with this episode, because the rest of it, everything else I've ever seen has been excellent. I always really enjoyed it. It's just this is just a little bit eek.
I feel like the 10-year-old was directing it using a magic 8-ball that was just filled with like bad camera angles, cliches, and creepy storylines. Like, where are we going to go with this? Low Dutch. Yeah. No, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I would, even though this isn't the best example of sliders, I would consider rewatching this entire series if it were available in 16:9, which will never happen. So I'm never going to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, if it was available not on the free version of Peacock, where I have to watch ads, I would give it a shot. Because I watched at least 2/3 of another episode, and and at least the teaser for the next one. but yeah, also inconsistencies on like they stayed on the pygmy world for. He's like, I guess we stayed on the pygmy world for too long. In the beginning of the episode, it's like you have 3 days per slide. How can you have stayed too long and not realize this? Anyway,
yeah, totally fair.
That's all I have, and that's it for this holiday edition of Namely 90s. Thank you again to Gaz of the Insanely Dangerous Retro Podshow for coming on. Can you let our listeners know where to find you?
You can find us on all good podcast streaming platforms and also some bad ones. Like I said, and if you're interested in our online presence, well, then we've got the Twitter machine, the YouBoob, Facebook, Instascam, and sadly, TikTok. You can find us everywhere. Get in touch with us. You can send us an email about anything you feel like. If you can tell us about your dog, Steve, if you like. I don't care. Just send us an email to TIDRP inbox. That's all one word, TIDRP inbox @gmail.com. And we have a new episode coming out every Thursday. This Thursday will be the first of our 2 Christmas specials, which is going to be all about Wham's Last Christmas.
Remember, this comes out on Boxing Day.
This is true. So it's already happened.
Yes. Go back. Go back and listen to about Wham's Last Christmas.
But also we'll do a second one then, because we do a film and a song each year. First year, Dange picked National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. This year, I get to pick Gremlins.
Ooh, yes.
Last
year we were we got to help you out with was it Farm Aid? Live Aid. It was Live Aid. The Live Aid Christmas song.
Lemonade
Christmas song.
Oh, don't! That's actually a thing. There's a character comedian called Lee Francis. He has a character called Keith Lemon.
Oh,
and he did a song called Lemonade, and it's quite possibly one of the most painful things I've ever seen. That's even more painful than Jerry O'Connell's Trapped Gas.
And you could, I don't know transition. Yep. Find us on Twitter and Instagram @Namely90s, or find personal accounts @Bshwitty and @NamelyAndrew. Tell us what you want us to talk about on future episodes, and if you'd like to support the show. Nope.
Stop with the accent. It's offensive.
Please check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/Namely90s, also with the 90s. Finally, you can also contact us through our website, Namely90s.com. Please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Sliders, Deezer, TuneIn, GoodPods, iHeart, and wherever you get your podcasts from. I'm Brandon. That's Andrew. Thank you one final time to Gaz from the Insanely Dangerous Retro Pod Show, and we will catch you tomorrow for day 7 of our 12 Days of Christmas specials. Hip hip cheerio. Sorry.